Vsauce! Always wanted to do that. Actually, I'm here to tell you a little bit more about psychology. Specifically, introductory psychology courses 1115, 1215. Now, some of the stuff you learn is actually subfields in psychology. This really tries to explain what it is a person can do in terms of career through learning psychology as a discipline. There's a lot of different areas, and there's more than I could even explain in a video here. So I'm going to tell you about a few of them, and then you can do more research beyond that. So the first one I can think of is neuroscience. It's a passion of mine, is actually looking at the structure of the brain, the components of the brain, the cells of the brain, and trying to understand how things like consciousness come and arise from this solid, real, material structure. It's fascinating. It's a brand new field, and we are really in the golden age of neuroscience right now. It's something that didn't exist 100 years ago. You can learn a great deal about memories. You can learn a great deal about thoughts. You can learn a great deal about language. It's a fascinating field and requires a lot of the biological perspective in order to understand the processes, the behaviors, the mental things that occur in the human body. So let's talk about another one, because it's not just neuroscience. I mean, psychology is a lot about relationships, isn't it? So what about things like counseling psychology? So the counseling psychologists are people that actually sit down with people and talk and use methods in psychology like psychodynamics. I wish that's what it's called. Did I lose you? That's okay. We're starting up all over again. So where was I? Oh yes, counseling psychologists. So these are people that sit down with the patient and actually talk about some of the things that might be troubling the patient, issues that they need to resolve. Freud was the founder, I guess, of psychoanalysis, which is kind of like looking into the subconscious, seeing the beliefs and the things that are held there that have an impact on the behaviors and the actions and our personalities in the present day. Now, that kind of stuff is really helpful to people that are struggling with things like depression or addiction, because it can help them understand what the sources of their challenges and what the sources is of their problems that they have. So counseling psychology is definitely a field where it's a lot more human interaction. There needs to be a lot of empathy, a lot of patience. All right, what other ones are? Would you believe me if I told you comedy is actually a field you can go into through psychology? Now, hear me out, hear me out. There's something in cognitive psychology. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you can find it in a link right here. I lost you again. As I was saying, there's a link you can find right here. My camera guy might have put it over here. Don't stop filming this time. Wherever the link is, you can check that out. It's a cognitive little interesting thing that they found. Now, how does that apply to a career as a comedian? Well, I'm glad you asked. There's another clip right here that you can take a look at, and you can see how this comedian actually applies that. So don't think that just by getting into psychology, you need to either become a psychologist or a doctor. In fact, there's a lot of skills you can get just by having a psychology background, because deep down, it's all about understanding how you, or how we, or how anyone really functions. And when you understand how a person thinks and how a person feels, and the underlying reasons why, you can relate to them. So the truth is, with psychology, you can do just about anything. As long as you're interacting with people, there's something of benefit to have. Anyways, again, my name's been Tony. Get psyched. One last thing. Might be wondering why I keep jumping up in front of the camera. Well, there's this great YouTuber by the name of Michael. He does Vsauce. Vsauce is absolutely awesome. It talks about all kinds of stuff, including psychology topics, but math, sciences, the paranormal, everything. Check him out, why don't you? Well, go on, click it. It's right there. You still here? You're not going to get much more from me.